feel like whatever you want to do, just do it and see what happens. Test the waters and enjoy it. Like, if everyone stops liking you and you like yourself, then there you go.
Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here on Patent Pending the Podcast's 5th episode. We're so excited to be continuing down this path and pursuing this journey with you guys. We have a few new things going on. We wanted to just take some time to explain to you today. Visit our Instagram. We have our link tree up on there. We have our website up now, a GoFundMe if you would like to support, and a few other new posts and things for you to interact with us on.
So our GoFundMe page is linked to our Instagram. If you would like to contribute, 25% of your donation will go to the charity To Write Love on Her Arms. To Write Love on Her Arms is a nonprofit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. To Write Love on Her Arms exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and also to invest directly into treatment and recovery. We're so happy to support such an amazing charity, and we hope that some of you will contribute, help us move this podcast along for you guys, and dedicate some more time to this project, and also support this amazing charity doing such wonderful things. Visit their website to find out a little bit more.
Yeah, so today on the show, we're welcoming my sister, my little sis, Benedith Loiseau. She is an author. She is a poet. She is a college-age individual navigating the world who recently moved to Atlanta from New York. And she's going to tell you a little bit about her journey and transition through that move, what it was like creating and publishing her own books, and different ways that she's found inspiration through all of this. So we hope you enjoy it. Thank you again for joining us here today. And feel free to reach out, comment, subscribe if this resonates with you. Share it with your friends. You never know who might need to hear what's being put out. That's all for now. I hope you enjoy the episode. Brenda, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you here on the show. Can you start off just telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what's your story, and what you've been up to most recently?
Yeah, so my name is Benedith. I'm Melissa's sister, but also I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm an author, I guess, and I write poetry. And recently I moved to Atlanta, and I'm kind of just starting my life, starting my career in Atlanta.
That's amazing. So you're an author. Don't say maybe, because you are. She's published 2 amazing books. She's a poet, and these are poetry books that she has self-published that are fantastic. I know, Benedith, you were selling your work here in New York in the subway stations a little bit when you were first getting started with your first book, and writing for the public wherever you went and all of that. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and how that translated to your experience in Atlanta now?
Honestly, so it was so crazy. I think it was about 2018. I had left my house and I was staying with my friend in Harlem, and I was super lost in life, don't know what to do. I had just dropped out of college the semester before, which wasn't my plan, but I couldn't do school anymore. So I was like, okay, well, now I'm gonna drop out. And I was kind of just feeling I don't know, I guess I was feeling super a failure, if that makes sense. Really lost in life, didn't know what I was doing. And I prayed about it, and the idea just randomly came to me that, you know what, I'm gonna just write a book, and I'm gonna put all of my energy into this book, kind of just to keep myself busy, so that at first I didn't think oh, I would drop out. I was more so taking a gap year. So I was just let me have something to show for my gap year. So let me write a book. And I like put all of these poems in my notes into a folder, and then I just labeled it Love is Fire. And I was like, this year I'm going to write a book. That's going to be my thing, just to really keep myself preoccupied. And then again, I was bored. I had no job. I literally just lost my job. My whole life was falling apart. Like, it was just not good. So I had no job. I wasn't in school. Like, I had nothing. So one day, my friend, his name is Keon, he was 21 at the time, and he would be posting his pictures on Instagram every day of like how he was selling his book in like this famous park in New York, Washington Square Park. So then one day in August, I was just like, you know what? Let me check out Keon. Let me see what he's doing, because it was kind of strange to me. Like, how did he just randomly write a book, and how was he selling it every day? It just didn't make no sense. So I was like, you know what? Let me visit Keon. I'm not doing anything. And then I went and I sat with him, and I saw him sell like, I don't know, like 6 books in like 20 minutes. And I was just so shocked, because me and him had been friends since I was like 17. So, so basically, he's like a regular person. I'll say it like that. So I never expected him to write a book or anything. And then when I saw him doing everything that he was doing, it was just kind of like motivational. And in my head, I was like, you know, he's 21. Like, he wrote a book and he's like selling it or whatever. So since I don't have a job right now, let me go outside and write poems next to Keon while he sells his books every day. And I just did that every day in the summer while I was writing my book. Because either way, I couldn't keep a job if I wanted to, because, you know, to write a book, you have to put all your energy into it. So I didn't have time for a 9 to 5 if I wanted to. So I would just write my books every day, and I would write poems for people every day. And then I would come home and work on my book, and then write poems, work on my book. And I did that for like 4 or 5 months.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how you then gained the courage to step out into the world and do that on your own without Keon being there at your side?
I guess it just kind of happened naturally. Like, I started doing it, and before I like decided to write the poems, I like sat home and I cried about it for like 2 weeks, because I was super scared. You know, I seem like not shy or whatever, but I'm actually kind of shy. So I was like, people are gonna look at me. What are they gonna think? But then I kind of realized, you know, all of that is ego. Whenever you're scared of like how people are gonna judge you, that's your ego, and that's not real or whatever. So I just told myself to like get over myself, and then I just did it the first time. And after I did it the first time, and you know, it's New York City, so you're meeting people from like, especially in the summer, there's so many tourists. So I met people from like Poland and like the Netherlands and like Thailand, and like they were visiting New York. So the idea that like my poems were going all over the world, like it just like made me so excited. And I like people. So the fact that I got to meet so many people every day, I just kind of grew attached to it, and I just wanted to do it. So even afterwards, when I did get a 9 to 5 again and I did start working again, I still do it now because I just like it so much.
Really cool. You touched on something when you were talking about your friend too that I feel like is so important. The fact that he was like a regular person. You felt like he was a regular person, and it was like, well, just a regular person can do this. And I think that's so important to realize that like you're not just a regular person. Everyone is so unique and has so much to offer. Like nobody is just a regular person, and like you had to see him do his thing to like realize that you're a unique person who has something to offer, and people are interested in that.
Yeah, like I meant it in the sense that like it's like your friend doing something out of the ordinary. You kind of just don't expect it. So when you know somebody that's doing something cool, you're just like, oh my God, like if they could do it, why can't I do it? If they could do it, you know?
Yeah, right. Gives you that motivation and that courage to be like, she's doing it, why can't I do it? Who's to say I can't? So
when you see people like that you don't know on social media or something, it's one thing to like see them make a podcast or write a book or do anything crazy that you think is out of reach. But when you start seeing people close to you doing it, it can be really motivating.
Yeah, it's super motivating and it's super inspiring. Like even me and my brother were talking yesterday about the podcast, and we were like, that's so cool. Like she just started it in like 2 weeks. You got your LLC, you got your podcast material, and you're like chugging them out. I'm like, so it's just so like inspiring.
It was a whirlwind couple of weeks.
Yeah. Talk about like quarantine inspiration. We were just talking and stuck doing nothing out in the world. So I think we've probably touched on this in every episode, how COVID has really caused people to just turn into themselves and be like, what could I potentially be doing right now that I could easily do that I'm just not taking the steps to do? And when Katie presented it to me, this has been something I've been thinking about for years since I was back in school earning my health coaching certification. I was thinking about it then and wanted to do it on my own. And then with the courage of a friend to do it with you, it was just like, yeah, let's do it now. Why not? And now here we are. So it's been great.
For sure. I was reading a book about boredom, and it says, like, you know, you have to spend time being bored because out of boredom comes like a lot of creativity. And I feel like COVID, like, you know, you're stuck in the house, you have nothing to do, you can't go outside, you can't be around people. So the boredom just makes you so creative.
Yeah. You find creative things. Like for Katie, she never even realized that she wanted to do something like this. She says it all the time, and now we're in it, and we're both so excited and filled with so much love and like joy to be doing something so out of the box for us on an everyday basis. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Proud of you.
Thanks, girl. So can you tell us a little bit about Atlanta? So for everyone who doesn't know, Benedith just up and moved to Atlanta. She was like, hey sis, I'm moving to Atlanta in like a month. And we were all just like, what? Who's in Atlanta? Nobody we know is in Atlanta. What do you mean you're moving to Atlanta? And now she's there and she is killing it. She's living life, doing her thing. So tell us a little bit what that was like for you, and then also making a major life move to a city where you really don't have so many people, and then facing a pandemic and being stuck and like, oh no, now what do I do? Because I feel like you're so out there in the world, and that's how you obviously connect when you're in a new city. So how was that for you?
So I visited Atlanta last year for my birthday, and at the time I did know a couple people here. Like my friend from school, like I grew up with, she was living here, but my friend moved to Alabama. So when I did move, I had nobody here. But when I was wanting to like move for a while, like for like 2-3 years. I kind of was just super uncomfortable with the pace of my life and the pace of New York in general. Like my life was just too fast, and I wasn't enjoying my life because you just go from here. Like New York is just here to there to there to there. Like it was just too much. Like I was just like, what am I doing? You know? And I just felt like, yeah, like I just felt like I needed like a peaceful place to live so I could clear my mind and have peace of mind. So for a year, I was actually visiting different cities that I thought I would want to live in. I visited Baltimore. I visited Washington, D.C. I visited California, San Diego, Oakland, LA. And none of the places kind of really stuck to me. I was looking for a place that was kind of like suburban, but also had city like so that I wouldn't get bored. And when I visited Atlanta, I just like in my heart, I knew I had to move to Atlanta. I'm super like spiritual, whatever. So I like woke up one day like I should move to Atlanta. Randomly, never been, never thought of it before. And once I get a thought in my mind, I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do, like whatever. But then when I visited, it like confirmed it for me. And honestly, when I first moved here, like the first day I moved in, I didn't feel like shell shocked or culture shocked or anything. I felt like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, and it was just all confirmed. The pandemic and like everything that's happened, it really like it really put a strain on it because also I don't drive, so I take like Ubers everywhere and stuff like that. So that kind of limits what I could do in the city. But the fact that like the city was shut down for so long, I couldn't go out, I couldn't make friends, I couldn't do anything. So in my head, I was thinking like, did I make the right move? I was just really like, I don't know if I made the right move. Like maybe I should be back with my family. But whenever I go to New York, I know I made the right move because, you know, in Atlanta, I'm kind of becoming an adult. Like I'm driving every day, learning how to drive. I'm saving up for a car. I'm like planning to get a house and stuff. If I was in New York, I wouldn't be planning any of these things. So I know I made the right move, but it really is hard being away from your family. But I mean, I make it fun. I make wherever I go, like I try to have fun, you know. So
You have to. I mean, that's all you can do. You gotta bring the joy with you wherever you go when you're in a difficult situation or just something new that's uncomfortable. You gotta make it not super uncomfortable for yourself.
yeah.
Okay. Do you think that there's anything that you've been doing that you could share that's helped you to make it more fun and less uncomfortable?
I like to be around people. So I've been just hanging out with friends. I joined this like club. It's like this country club. It's hard to explain, but it's like a black country club. And I've met like most of my friends there. And we just hang out. We go to the movies, we go to the parks. And in Atlanta, the nice thing is there's a lot of things to do outdoors. So we go to rivers, we go hiking, like, you know, it's a lot of outdoorsy stuff. So that's been making it nice because I always think about like if I was in New York, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the scenery of outside as much. It would be like just like concrete jungle vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, especially during COVID. I can't imagine living in the city right now. I'm glad that we're in Long Island and there's trees.
Yeah.
And sunlight. And
Trees.
Central Park.
So with the move to Atlanta, what were some of your biggest fears leading up to the move, and what did you do to overcome them?
Honestly, sex trafficking was my fear,
Yeah.
which shouldn't be a thought. Like it shouldn't. I feel like people shouldn't even have to fear stuff like that. But sex trafficking is super big in Atlanta. And before I moved, I was definitely doing research, and it was just the number one thing that I kept seeing. So when I moved here, I was definitely paranoid and like kind of afraid of like, you know, getting into Ubers, being out late at night and stuff like that. When you move anywhere, you're kind of like afraid.
Mhm.
So I was scared of that. But once I moved here, I got what I've noticed is a lot of people carry weapons out here. So that was another thing I was afraid of, like the fact that everybody carries weapons and the gun laws are so loose. But I kind of see that because everyone carries weapons, there's not as much fight. So I got myself a taser, I got some pepper spray, some mace, and I don't know. I don't really feel afraid when I'm going out that much anymore. And also, these people are pretty nice. Like, they're not as chaotic as people in New York. Because of the carry laws, I feel like since a lot of people carry, there's not as much trouble. Yeah. That sounds kind of backwards, but it's honestly true.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of people talk about that and make that statement before that, people are less scared and that because people are carrying, there's less issues that are occurring. But to me, I don't know, just being a New Yorker and knowing what our city is like, it's kind of a scary thought to think about living in a place. So I could see why that's like a fear, moving somewhere that's like that.
Hmm. I feel like once you're from New York, you've experienced it all, you've seen it all. So people don't really scare me, and if somebody like tries to play with me, I let them know what it is and what it isn't.
Like, you don't know where I'm coming from.
Stop playing. Yeah. The one thing I would say about Atlanta that's kind of different is like the people kind of move a little bit slower down here, and it's pretty country. So that was one thing that threw me off when moving here. People talk slow, they make food slow, they do everything slow, and you just learn to expect everything to go slower. People will hang out with you for hours, like they have nowhere to go
Yeah.
a lot of the time, which kind of again threw me off. Like, you know, you're so used to small talk in New York that you don't expect conversations to last more than 3, 4 minutes. And here, people will sit down and talk to you for hours. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, there's so many things that are a culture shock moving from the fast-paced city of New York
To the
to
south.
somewhere like Atlanta or really any city south of
Jersey.
Yeah. Another thing,
pretty much New York anyway.
So what kind of effect has that had on your writing and your poetry? Is the lifestyle, do you feel like it's better for your creativity?
I actually don't, which is surprising. I think because in New York I was having so many experiences, and my life was so fast paced. Every day something new and exciting would happen that inspired me to write. But down here, not a lot of things happen, and it's just a lot of things don't happen. The people aren't as eccentric and different as in the city, so nothing is really going on. So I don't write as much. I write really randomly, and the lifestyle down here is super cushy, if that makes sense. Like, people are very relaxed. Most people, even whatever you get paid, even if you make minimum wage down here, you're probably making enough to have an apartment and to have everything that you need, as opposed to New York, where everybody is kind of like struggling and suffering. So that also inspires you to write. But since down here is so chill and nothing is really happening and I'm not struggling as much, I'm not as inspired, honestly, which is kind of funny to me. But
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about new ways to get creative and trying to spark your writing in different directions, or have you just been kind of waiting for it to come to you when you have those moments of inspiration?
So I've been writing poems out here for people. I'm actually going to do it later today. And I told myself that when I moved down here, I wasn't going to do it. But again, I'm bored. So I write poems for people to get new material and just to keep my pen pushing. But I've actually been into screenwriting. So movies, shows, plays, and I've been learning how to write for TV, because TV is really big out here. And I don't just want to be a poet. I don't want to limit myself in that way and say, like, oh, I'm only good at this one thing. So I'm trying to learn different things, different styles of writing, so I can write different kinds of books and movie scripts, plays, stuff like that.
It's great.
That's really
Expanding your horizons. Yeah. I'd love to hear about your transition out of school and what that was like for you. I know you touched upon it earlier, but you mentioned how, like, it was starting to feel like, oh, I'm a failure. Like, I dropped out of school. Okay, let me look at it as a gap year, and that's going to be my inspiration to write a book. And then you did that. So what was that like, getting to that point of done, I did it. Okay, now what?
So I definitely had anxiety, and I never had anxiety like that in my life before. But when I went to college, people always say that college is harder than high school, college is harder than high school. But not gonna lie, I bullshitted my way through high school, and I still had a 95 GPA. So I didn't think it could be that hard, you know? I'm like, I know how to read, I know how to write. Can't be that hard. But college is really hard. It really is hard. You have all these difficult classes. They're giving you so much work. And my problem is the turnover rate. Like, you're giving me a 10-page paper due tomorrow. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I was stressed out. I was anxious. And my real problem was, I guess, the comparison, because all of my friends in college, they were getting good grades, and we would like do the same papers, or we would do whatever, and they were all getting good grades on papers and this and that, or in certain classes when we were in the same classes. And I was like failing. I wasn't failing, but I was bombing. I was doing worse than I was doing worse than I was used to doing. And once you start failing, it's kind of hard to stop. That sounds so sad, but it's so true. Like, once you down, once you're on a downward spiral, you're like, okay, well, I'm going down, so let's just keep going down. Right.
How do I do it?
It's like sliding down a hill, or like going down like a river stream. Like, once you start like failing, you're just like, well, I'm failing. It's like hard to get back up or get the motivation to, like, pick it up. But I was trying. I was going to tutors, and one of my biggest problems is that I've never been good at math. And because I wasn't good in math before I entered my college, they accepted me, but they told me that I'd have to pass this math class. So I took the math class in the summer and I failed it. So I took the math class again first semester and I failed it. And I took it again the second semester and I failed it. And it's not like I wasn't trying. I had tutors. I went to every study session. I was really, really trying. I was reading books, but I was just failing. So at a certain point, I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to pass this math. And I was studying marketing, and you had to pass the math class to go to the business school to study marketing. So in my head, I was just like, I don't think I'm going to ever pass this math class, and I'm not going to keep putting pressure on myself to do it. And also, I wasn't really into business as much as I thought I was. I was more so into Black studies, writing. So after that year, I was just like, I could never do this again. Not that I can never do it again, but I didn't want to be in school. And it just the thought of being in school gave me so much anxiety. And I think what was the final straw is that I was supposed to write this final paper on literally a movie we watched in class. I think it was, I forget what it's called, but it's like a famous movie. And it was a writing paper and it was writing class. And I was already doing well, but I was trying to type this paper and I was just staring at the screen. And every time I would try to type it, like even the first sentence, I would like freeze and get choked up and start crying. And I was just like, okay, this is toxic and not healthy. Like, I'm a writer and I can't even write a paper because I'm so scared that I'll get a bad grade on it. Because again, like once you start failing, then you fear failing, and it's just like this weird thing. So I'm a writer and I can't even write a paper because I'm so scared that I'll write it and I'll get a bad grade. So after that, I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like, no more school for me because I'm not going to put myself through this toxicness just for what? To like, and again, at the time, I wasn't really pressed on school. Like, I always was thinking about business and money and like more so entrepreneurship. But I was in school because I thought my dad really needed me to graduate because he like made so many sacrifices for me to be in school. And all he talked about me growing up was going to college, going to college. So I didn't want to disappoint him. That was the only reason I was in college. So I'm like, listen, he's gonna have to be disappointed because I can't keep crying over papers. You're gonna have to cry. Be disappointed. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna cry. So that was that. And once I told my dad that I was dropping out, he was kind of like thrown off by it, but he took it better than I thought. And once he took it good, I was just like, whoo, like I felt great. And I never really regretted it because all of my friends were stressed out in school and I was making moves with my life. Like I was writing my book and publishing and this and that. So not every path is for everyone. But I want to go back to school though, and I moved to Atlanta to go to a writing program, but it's on hold right now due to COVID.
I mean, being able to identify that something that people view as like inherently good for everybody is not for you is a really, like, you have to be strong to realize that and identify that and say like, no, this is not good for me, even though the world thinks this is just a good thing for everyone. Like college is good, college is great for you, college is important, but it's not for everybody. And being able to identify and say, this is a toxic environment for me, it's not working, and it's not getting me where I want to go. I think it's admirable that you were able to identify that and stick to it.
I feel like it's not good for a lot of people because from my second semester, when I was thinking of dropping out, I started asking people like, "Do you feel crippling anxiety?" And they'd be like, "Yes." And then they'd be like, and then people, they're doing Adderall and they're doing all these drugs because they're so stressed out over school. And then you ask them like, "Well, what do you want to do when you graduate?" They have no idea about their purpose. They have no idea what they like. They don't even know what they like. And I'm like, okay, so we're all spending tens of thousands of dollars to get a degree that we don't know if we're going to even like it, and we have crippling anxiety throughout the process, so much so that we're all doing drugs. Like, come on.
Yeah. What are we doing here? What's going on?
You know that stop button from Target? Like, stop,
Yeah.
stop. Like, did you guys press the stop button?
Yeah.
And whenever I would ask people, they would all say the same thing. Like, I feel anxiety. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. I'm depressed, whatever. But I feel like, but whenever I would say, well, would you drop out? Because, I'm trying to feel the room. Like, hey, I'm thinking of dropping. Like, would you? And they would be like, hell nah. So I'd be like, okay. So,
I must just be crazy. I'm going to do my thing.
yeah, because I feel like a lot of people feel the same way in general about a lot of things, but people are always scared to make decisions because they don't know if it's the wrong decision. But I got to a point where I'm like, even if I make the wrong decision, I could always go back to school. I could go to, if I really care to do it, I will go back. So, and if I don't go back, but everything works out, then it works out. So,
exactly. That's something that carries over into so many transitions in your life. What do you think you've been able to do now after learning that lesson? Have you carried that over into any other major decisions you've made in your life just yet? I know it's still kind of fresh. It's just a couple of years ago we're talking about. But I don't know. Do you think that experience taught you anything major that you've been able to carry into your other decision-making processes in life?
I think I made that decision because of how I always thought to begin with. My life motto in life is that if everybody else is doing something, let me do the other thing. Because I don't trust what everybody else does. I never trusted groupthink. I feel like groupthink is the weirdest thing ever. And whatever everybody else is thinking a certain way, I just get skeptical. I get super skeptical when people are making certain decisions. So I feel like my whole life has been a series of me just like doing the other thing than what most people do. And that's where I feel comfortable and that's where I feel safe. For example, even moving to Atlanta, when I was thinking of moving to Atlanta, I would tell all my friends, like, hey, would you ever move somewhere else? The pace is so fast and we keep doing the same things every day. And they would all be like, I would never leave New York. Like, I don't know how to drive. I can't do that. I can't move anywhere else. But then I just thought to myself, well, I'm gonna move and I'm gonna try it. And also my high school and college experience, I've always been a Christian. So just being a Christian, people are always like, so you're not having sex, so you're not partying with us, and you're not turning up. And it's like, dude, I know I'm not missing out because I've had years and years of partying. I know I'm not missing out on nothing. And those same people, they come back to me today and they're like, wow, like, you really did your thing and it worked out for you. And I'm glad I didn't make the choices that they made. But even while I'm out here, I live in a student apartment building. So a lot of the people that live in my apartment building, they go to different colleges in Georgia. So a lot of the kids are from Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Emory, Spelman, Morehouse. So all of the colleges are close to each other. So my apartment building houses students from all the different colleges. And even being here, I didn't know people were so people talk about college life, but when I went to college, it was a CUNY, so I didn't really have the college experience. But living here, I see that everyone's having sex and like partying hard and stuff. And I wasn't that exposed to it when living in New York, but my friends be trying to be like, oh, come smoke with me or come do this. And I'm just like, I don't smoke. And I'm not busting it wide open at the party with y'all. Sorry. And it throws people off that you're not doing, again, just like being the odd person out. If you're in a room full of people that say like, oh, let's go smoke, and you're like, well, I'm not gonna go smoke, I'm gonna go work, then it throws them off. But they all see that I'm my own person, so they kind of respect me more for it than just like going along with whatever it is. So I always think like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's hard when you're going through these different transitions in life to not go with the flow of the current and just do what everybody else is doing and to stand out and be like, no, I'm true to my own beliefs. This is my core value. I'm going to do what I believe in. And you can say or think whatever you want about it. It takes a lot to do that, especially at a young age. And that, I think college for many people is that first major life transition where they have to really, find themselves and be your own person and figure out what types of decisions you're willing to make and what you're not willing to make similar decisions to your peers on.
Yeah.
do you think that there was any one pivotal moment that made you realize that if everyone else is doing something, let me go and do the other thing?
I don't know. I think it's just my way of being. I've always been pretty rebellious, but in every sense, like good and bad. When I was younger, I would like pick fights with my teachers and always get suspended and like always get in fights. But it's always because I was like, listen, y'all not about to punk me. Just because you're the teacher doesn't mean you have the information, all the knowledge in the world. You're just a person just like me. Or I've always been like that since I was young. I've been like super rebellious. Like if somebody tells me one thing, I always like want to challenge it. Like, oh well, what about this thing or what about that thing? So I think it's just my personality.
So, having the experiences that you had in college, what would be a piece of advice that you would give someone graduating high school and going into college to help them get through that first year and not necessarily fall into that group thing that you were talking about?
I would say don't do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. I think a lot of the situations, again, that I was in is the same situations that everyone else is in, but people don't know how to say no. They don't know how to, they don't want, and I feel like definitely with my generation, like Gen Z, like people don't want people to not like them. They're so concerned about, I just want everyone to like me. And it's like, even if you were a perfect person, like they killed Jesus. Like even if you were a perfect person, they would not like you for a reason. Like they don't like your eyebrows or they don't like your ears. They're shaped funny. Somebody's gonna find a reason to not like you. So why just? I'd say do a bunch of things that you feel like people won't like you for, and then figure out which one you like. I don't know. I feel like it's fun to test the waters. A lot of people feel like if they drop out of school, their parents won't accept them, or even let's say you're gay, like people are scared to come out the closet because they feel like their parents don't love them. So I feel like whatever you want to do, just do it and see what happens. Test the waters and enjoy it. Like if everyone stops liking you and you like yourself, then there you go. Like that's the whole point. Because I always say like you have to sleep with yourself at night. Like you have to go to sleep with yourself, and you have to go to sleep with the decisions that you made. So you have to be able to make decisions that, well, maybe not everybody will like, but it's the right decision for you. Even when I moved to Atlanta, my family is still upset about it. And they like call me, they're like, why would you do that? There's nothing for you out there. Like, just come back home. Every time I'm home, they're like, just come back home. You're not doing anything out there. And I'm like, they're kind of right, but I had to do this for me. So I'm still out here, you know? So people aren't going to like your decisions, especially if it's not the decision that makes them happy. But ultimately, those people have to go to sleep with themselves at night also, and they're probably making decisions for other people. So you're making decisions for someone else that's making decisions for someone else. And it's just like, does that make any sense?
Yeah. So I was, you gotta live for you. Break the cycle.
Yeah.
Break the cycle. Yeah, and you're gonna have to piss a couple people off. So piss them off, but they'll get over it, you know? What are they gonna do?
I think like people would be surprised when you do test the waters and you try things that you think people will hate you for. You'll find other people that are gonna love you for it.
Right. And then even when I became a writer and started writing books, people were like, you know, get a real job. Like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, are you gonna be a copywriter? Because there's no such thing as a writer. Like, you're not gonna get paid. You're gonna be broke. Like just all in my ear. And I'm just like, okay, so what? Let me be broke and suffer on my own. I still have to make the decision I want to make. But those same people, like 2 years later, they're like, you know, I'm so proud of you. You wrote a book, or help me to write my book, or this or that. So they'll get over it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to young people. Like, try to do different things that you feel like, test the waters. Go out there and test the waters. Do different things, try different things, and see which one you like. And if you like something, but it doesn't, or if you want to do something like take time off of school, or maybe just like even consent. Like so many girls go to parties and they don't want to have sex with a guy or whatever, but they kind of feel pressured. Like say no, or you know, just fight for yourself in whatever situation you're in, and don't be scared of how the other person will react.
I think that's great advice.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes a lot to be able to stay true to yourself, but I think it all starts with knowing yourself and getting to know yourself truly and holistically. A lot of people don't really give themselves the opportunity to know who they really are or what they want, and that's why young people often become easily influenced in one direction or another, whether that be from your peers or your parents or whatever. If you're not surrounding yourself with people that are aligned with where you want to be in life and the things you want to be doing in life, then you're not going to be influenced in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think the hard thing with college in particular is that nobody really knows what they're aligned with. People are, for the first time, going out and, being on their own. And most people, especially if you dorm at school, you go to school with no friends. You don't know anybody. You go in, and the best you can do is, follow the people around you. But you have to stay away from that and really take that time to, instead of following other people and getting other people to like you, find it within yourself and really discover who you are, and the people who align with your beliefs that you discover are going to be the people who are going to be good for you.
Absolutely. And that'll carry you through everything in life.
Yeah.
If you can get that core set of values, who you are, who you believe in, what you want for yourself down, that's what fuels the vision. If you can't do that, then I mean, I don't really know what else fuels any sort of vision, right?
Yeah. And I would say a lot of times people are scared of being alone. Like a lot, you know how many people don't even like their friends? It's the weirdest thing. They're like, I don't even like her. Like, what is that? That's your friend. You got to pick her, you know?
But why are you spending time with that person that you don't like? This is your life.
You hang out with her every single day. Yeah, I don't really like her. I'm like, okay. So I feel like people are just scared of being alone. They rather be with people that want to be with them than be by themselves. And I get that, because that process of getting to know yourself, it could be isolating because you're trying to make the right decisions and you have to spend time with yourself. And just by nature, spending time with yourself is isolating. So it could be really hard for people, but I would say, just be comfortable being alone. And then once you are ready to go out into the world, you really will know like who you want to be around and who you don't want to be around.
Absolutely. There's something to be said about being able to get yourself to a point where you're comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, you're going to face those uncomfortable times through many situations in life, but it's about getting okay with that to be able to carry yourself through.
Yeah, and when you do get to know yourself, no matter what situation you get put in, you're going to know how to handle it, because you just know who you are, and you know what decisions you need to make to stay true to yourself. So no matter what situation you get put in, you're going to come out on the other side still you.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
Oh, awesome. Well, Benedith, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've given us tons of great tips to share with our listeners, and I think a lot of people will get a ton from this conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about where we can find you, anyone who's interested in your books or your content or working with you moving forward?
Yeah, you could find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Benedith Laure, BenedithLaure. And you could also find my books on Amazon. You could find them on my website. You could find me in Atlanta.
I'll be there.
I'll be here, find me. And yeah, that's basically it. I want to say thank you so much for bringing me on the show and allowing me to talk to y'all and for putting this together.
Absolutely. It's been our pleasure. And thank you so much for joining us again. We're going to link to everything in the show notes for Benedith. If you're looking to connect and having any troubles, feel free to reach out. We're happy to get you connected if need be. That's it for today. Bye for now.